Tel Aviv. Midnight. The air is tense. Inside a bomb shelter, surrounded by silence pierced only by distant sirens and the flicker of Iron Dome intercepts above, I sat asking a question that has haunted the modern Middle East. Why does Iran hate Israel? This is not just a geopolitical rivalry, it's a philosophical collision, an ideological fault line, and a story of former allies turned bitter foes. The answer lies buried beneath revolutions, empires, theology, and a conflict of civilizations. To understand it is to understand the deeper machinery of Middle Eastern power, a crucial insight for students, researchers, policymakers, and the general public alike. The animosity between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the State of Israel is one of the most defining and dangerous geopolitical dynamics of our time. It fuels regional instability, shapes international alliances, and carries the constant threat of wider conflict. Yet, for many, the depth and origins of this animosity remain shrouded in simplistic narratives. This analysis aims to dissect the multifaceted reasons behind Iran's declared enmity towards Israel. We will move beyond headlines to explore the historical, ideological, political, and even theological underpinnings of this profound shift. Our journey will reveal how a pragmatic alliance transformed into an existential struggle, offering critical insights into the complexities of Middle Eastern politics and the enduring power of revolutionary ideology. Once upon a time, Iran and Israel weren't enemies. They were allies, not just diplomatically aligned, but strategically intertwined. In 1948, Iran became the second Muslim-majority nation, after Turkey, to extend de facto recognition to the newly established State of Israel. This early recognition was a pragmatic move, reflecting Iran's independent foreign policy under the Pahlavi dynasty. By the 1960s and 70s, under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Iran was Israel's most important partner in the Muslim world. This alliance was part of Israel's Pact of the Periphery strategy, seeking non-Arab allies to counter hostile Arab states. The Shah, a staunch anti-communist and pro-Western monarch, saw Israel as a valuable partner against the rising tide of Arab nationalism, particularly Nasserism, and Soviet influence in the region. The cooperation was extensive and multifaceted. It encompassed significant trade relations, with Iranian oil flowing to Israel and Israeli agricultural and technological expertise benefiting Iran. Intelligence sharing was robust, particularly concerning Soviet activities and Arab military movements. There were even direct El Al flights connecting Tel Aviv and Tehran, symbolizing the open and friendly ties. This strategic partnership, however, rested on a fragile foundation: the stability of the Shah's autocratic rule and a shared, albeit often unstated, opposition to pan-Arabism. Beneath the surface, Iranian public sentiment, particularly among religious conservatives, harbored reservations about Israel's presence in the region. The alliance was primarily a top-down, state-driven initiative, not deeply rooted in popular support. Everything changed in 1979. The Iranian Revolution, a seismic event, toppled the Shah's monarchy. In his place rose Ayatollah Khomeini, bearing a radically different vision, a theocratic republic built on anti-imperialist, anti-Western, and vehemently anti-Zionist ideology. The Islamic Republic of Iran was born, and with it, the beginning of an enduring ideological war. Israel, once a partner, was now branded the Little Satan, a stark symbol of Western influence and oppression. To the architects of Iran's Islamic Revolution, Israel wasn't merely a country, it was a potent symbol. It represented the West's beachhead, an artificial colonial project implanted in the heart of the Islamic world. This perception was deeply rooted in Iran's own historical grievances and a profound sense of national humiliation at the hands of foreign powers. The revolutionary worldview was shaped by a deep resentment of foreign interference, particularly from Britain and the United States. Events like the 1953 CIA-orchestrated coup, which restored the Shah to power, and British control over Iran's oil resources, fueled a pervasive anti-Western sentiment. The Shah's perceived subservience to Western interests and his embrace of Western decadence further inflamed revolutionary fervor. Khomeini skillfully channeled this national trauma into a broader narrative: the West corrupts, divides, and dominates. In this narrative, Israel became a visible, vulnerable representative of this perceived Western hegemony. Its establishment was viewed not as an act of self-determination but as a continuation of colonial practices, designed to weaken and fragment the Muslim world. To the Islamic Republic, Israel stood as a secular, democratic anomaly in an Islamic sea. Its success, its strong Western ties, its cultural liberalism, these were seen as affronts to the revolution's core values of Islamic purity, self-reliance, and resistance to foreign influence. The very existence of a non-Muslim, Western-aligned state in the heart of the Middle East was deemed an illegitimate imposition. In this revolutionary view, the destruction of Israel became more than a political goal, it became a moral and religious obligation. It was framed as a necessary step towards liberating the Muslim world from Western domination and restoring Islamic dignity. This symbolic significance elevated the conflict beyond mere territorial disputes, embedding it deeply within the revolutionary ethos. Iran is predominantly Shia Muslim. Most of the Muslim world, including the majority of Palestinians, are Sunni. For centuries, the two sects have experienced theological and political tensions, often leading to rivalry. So, a critical question arises: why would Shia Iran champion a predominantly Sunni cause like Palestine, seemingly transcending deep-seated sectarian divides? The answer lies in a shrewd political calculation and a profound understanding of regional dynamics. Post-revolution, Iran found itself isolated, rejected by conservative Arab monarchies who feared the export of its revolutionary ideology, and distrusted by the West. To gain legitimacy, break its isolation, and project regional influence, Iran adopted a powerful and universally resonant symbol: resistance against Israel and advocacy for the Palestinian cause. By declaring itself the unwavering defender of Jerusalem and the rights of Palestinians, Iran strategically positioned itself as the leader of a pan-Islamic resistance movement. This stance allowed it to transcend traditional sectarian divides, appealing to a broader Muslim audience concerned with the Palestinian plight. It provided Iran with street credibility among Arab populations, even if the governments remained hostile. This commitment was not merely rhetorical. Iran backed its claims with tangible action. It began providing significant financial, military, and logistical support to various Palestinian factions, including Hamas and Islamic Jihad, despite their Sunni orientation. Furthermore, Iran cultivated an armed Hezbollah in Lebanon, transforming it into a formidable proxy force directly confronting Israel. Support also extended to various militias in Syria and Iraq, all operating under the banner of resistance against Israeli and Western influence. Opposing Israel wasn't just a policy choice, it was a core strategic pillar. It served multiple objectives: enhancing Iran's regional standing, challenging the legitimacy of pro-Western Arab regimes, and projecting its revolutionary ideals. It was an ideological imperative intertwined with a pragmatic quest for power and survival in a hostile regional environment. This strategic embrace of the Palestinian cause allowed Iran to carve out a unique and influential role in the Middle East, leveraging a widely felt grievance to its geopolitical advantage. Ayatollah Khomeini's ambition wasn't merely national, it was global. The Islamic Revolution was conceived not as an isolated event but as a universal model, meant to spread its principles of Islamic governance and anti-imperialist resistance across the Muslim world and beyond. The goal was to awaken Muslims, topple corrupt, Western-aligned regimes, and fundamentally challenge the existing international order dominated by Western powers. Standing as a perceived obstacle to this grand vision was Israel. In the revolutionary playbook, Israel's destruction was not an end in itself but a profoundly symbolic act, proof that the West could be defeated, that its regional proxies were vulnerable, and that a new, independent Islamic order could rise. Its elimination would signify a decisive victory against Western hegemony and a validation of the revolution's core tenets. This ideology gave birth to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and its elite Quds force, specifically tasked with advancing Iranian influence through asymmetric warfare and supporting revolutionary movements abroad. The Quds force became the primary instrument for exporting the revolution, operating covertly to train, arm, and fund proxy groups across the Middle East. In every major regional conflict, from the civil wars in Iraq and Syria to the proxy battles in Yemen and the ongoing tensions in Lebanon and Gaza, Israel was often the common thread, the ultimate target that justified Iranian intervention and the deployment of its proxies. The narrative of confronting the Zionist entity provided a powerful ideological justification for Iran's expansive regional activities, framing them as part of a larger struggle for Islamic liberation. Israel thus became Iran's chosen antagonist, not merely for religious reasons, but as a crucial element in validating and advancing the revolution's global aspirations. The conflict with Israel served as a constant reminder of the revolution's anti-imperialist stance and its commitment to challenging the status quo, thereby reinforcing its legitimacy both domestically and among sympathetic groups abroad. This strategic antagonism became a cornerstone of Iran's foreign policy, shaping its military doctrine and its network of regional alliances. The conflict between Iran and Israel runs deeper than borders or bombs. It is fundamentally a culture war. Iran's clerical leaders perceive Israel not just as a military threat but as a mirror reflecting the deepest fears about societal decay and the erosion of traditional Islamic values. The very existence of a vibrant, secular, and democratic society like Israel, with its open culture, diverse lifestyles, and Western influences, is seen as an ideological affront. The Iranian regime, built on strict interpretations of Islamic law and social control, views elements of Western culture as a soft war designed to undermine its authority and corrupt its youth. Practices common in Israel: women singing in public, dissenting voices openly expressed, LGBTQ+ pride parades, a thriving nightlife, are not just foreign ideas, they are perceived as direct threats to a regime built on conservative Islamic control and moral purity. In Iran, the regime enforces mandatory hijabs, bans certain types of music, and arrests individuals for activities deemed immoral, such as dancing in public. Western culture is often treated as a virus, a corrupting influence that must be rigorously suppressed. In this context, Israel, thriving in its liberalism and openness, becomes a potent symbol of this perceived cultural threat, a carrier of values antithetical to the Islamic Republic's foundational principles. This clash of civilizational values fuels Tehran's extensive propaganda machine. Israel is not merely portrayed as militarily dangerous or politically oppressive, it is depicted as morally corrupt, decadent, and spiritually bankrupt. This narrative serves to demonize Israel, justifying the regime's hardline stance and rallying support among its conservative base. It frames the conflict as a righteous struggle between Islamic purity and Western depravity. In this narrative, the battle against Israel is as much about preserving the moral fabric of Iranian society as it is about geopolitical power. It is a struggle for the soul of the region, where the Islamic Republic positions itself as the guardian of true Islamic values against the perceived moral decay represented by Israel and its Western allies. This cultural dimension adds another layer of complexity and intensity to the enduring animosity. In Shia Islam, the concept of justice, adl, is sacred and central to its theological framework. At its core lies the belief in the Mahdi, the 12th Imam, a hidden messianic figure who will return at the end of times to establish divine justice, eradicate oppression, and usher in an era of universal peace. Traditionally, Shiites were expected to await the Mahdi's return, preparing the ground for his advent through piety and righteous living. However, Ayatollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic, fundamentally altered this traditional quietist approach. He introduced the doctrine of velayat-e-faqih, or the guardianship of the jurist, which asserted that during the Mahdi's occultation, a qualified Islamic jurist, the supreme leader, should govern. More profoundly, Khomeini declared that Iran must not passively await the Mahdi but actively fight injustice now. He argued that resisting oppressors and establishing an Islamic government would hasten the Mahdi's return, preparing the world for his ultimate arrival. In this revolutionary and activist interpretation, Israel, viewed as the ultimate oppressor and a symbol of global injustice, became the spiritual adversary. Its existence, from the Iranian regime's perspective, represents a profound injustice against the Palestinian people and the broader Muslim world. Therefore, confronting and ultimately eliminating Israel is framed as a necessary step in fulfilling divine prophecy and paving the way for the Mahdi's reappearance. In this apocalyptic vision, every missile fired, every proxy trained, every speech denouncing Zionism, it all serves a cosmic purpose. The conflict transcends mere political or territorial disputes, it becomes a sacred struggle, a form of divine preparation for the ultimate redemption. This theological dimension imbues the conflict with an existential gravity, making compromise incredibly difficult for the regime. This isn't just war, it's divine preparation. This messianic fervor provides a powerful ideological justification for the regime's unwavering commitment to its anti-Israel stance, resonating deeply with segments of its population and its regional proxies. It transforms geopolitical strategy into a sacred duty, making the conflict with Israel an integral part of Iran's revolutionary identity and its vision for the future. While the official rhetoric and state policy of the Islamic Republic are unequivocally hostile towards Israel, it is crucial to recognize that there is another Iran. This is an Iran not heard in official speeches or showcased in state-sponsored parades, but one that exists in the hearts and minds of millions of its citizens. Many Iranians do not share the regime's animosity towards Israel. A significant portion of the population, particularly the younger generations, harbors no inherent hatred for Israelis or Jews. Some even remember the old alliances and the historical ties between the two nations, recalling a time of cultural exchange and mutual respect. There is a deep-seated historical connection between the Persian and Jewish peoples that predates the current political animosity by millennia. These Iranians often crave freedom, economic opportunity, and a less confrontational foreign policy rather than perpetual conflict. They risk their lives protesting the regime's oppressive policies, challenging the morality police, and rejecting the pervasive state propaganda. Their aspirations often align more with global integration and individual liberties than with the revolutionary ideals of their rulers. In secret churches, in encrypted online messages, and in whispered conversations among trusted friends, many Iranians dream of peace and a different future for their country. They are weary of the economic hardship imposed by sanctions, the social restrictions, and the constant state of tension with the outside world, much of which they attribute to the regime's ideological fixations, including its stance on Israel. Israelis, too, watch closely, not only for missile threats but also for signs of hope from within Iran. They understand that the future of the region may not lie solely in military supremacy or diplomatic maneuvering, but in the potential for change driven by the Iranian people themselves. The possibility of a future Iran that is not governed by the current revolutionary ideology offers a glimmer of hope for a different regional dynamic. This distinction between the Iranian regime and the Iranian people is vital for a nuanced understanding of the conflict. It suggests that the hatred is not inherent to the nations or their peoples, but rather a product of a specific political ideology. The future may indeed be shaped by the hearts and minds of the people behind enemy lines, rather than by the dictates of the current rulers. The hatred between the Islamic Republic of Iran and the State of Israel is a profound and deeply entrenched reality, born from a complex interplay of historical grievances, revolutionary ideology, geopolitical ambition, and even theological conviction. It was forged in the fires of the 1979 revolution, transforming former allies into bitter, existential foes. This animosity has shaped the Middle East for decades, leading to proxy wars, regional instability, and a constant threat of escalation. However, history is replete with examples of profound shifts in international relations. Nations that were once implacable enemies have, through reform, changing leadership, or evolving geopolitical circumstances, found paths to coexistence and even cooperation. The current state of enmity, while deeply rooted, is not necessarily eternal. It was born in revolution. It could potentially dissipate with reform or a fundamental change in governance. Could these two nations, once allies, one day be partners again? While the immediate prospects seem bleak, understanding the historical trajectory and the underlying drivers of this conflict is the first step towards imagining alternative futures. For students, researchers, and policymakers, this analysis underscores the critical importance of distinguishing between state policy and popular sentiment, and recognizing the multifaceted nature of international relations. Until then, we must continue to ask difficult questions, to learn from the past, and to uncover the buried truths that shape our present. Join us in this ongoing exploration of history, as we strive to understand the forces that divide nations and to envision what comes next. Subscribe to History Unburied for more untold stories and deep historical investigations. Engage with our content, share your insights in the comments, and help us foster a deeper understanding of the past to inform our future. Your participation is crucial in revealing the complexities of history and imagining possibilities for a more peaceful world.